As I look back, I realize that it took a long time for God to get me ready for the responsibility that He was going to give me. In essence, to create a company that would give women a chance to break through that glass ceiling. And when God had me ready, Mary Kay Cosmetics was born. In the beginning, there were more than just a few skeptics who thought that it was absolutely stupid for a middle-aged woman to risk her life savings to finance an idea that she had. But you see, it was God's idea, not hers. I always thought of myself as someone who was simply setting right something that was not going right in God's wonderful world. It's really true that I was driven to do this. As we began the company, I wanted to put into effect the things that I felt had made my past career a success. I also wanted to zero in, if you will, on the things that I think almost all women hold as priorities in their lives. And so we decided to make our philosophy, first of all, based on the Golden Rule, and then, as our philosophy, God first, family second, career third. I think if you gave a woman, any woman, a scale, and on one side you put her faith in her family, and on the other side you put her career, and tell her that irrevocably she had to choose one or the other, I don't think there's a woman alive who would say, well, I have to make a living and I'll take the career. I don't think there's any woman who would give up her husband, her children, and her faith for any career. So we decided to prioritize our lives with that as our philosophy. And we started this company with a strong belief in the beautiful potential in every human being. And I believe that to be one of our greatest contributions. You see, we're not just in the cosmetic business, we are in the people business. And as for the products themselves, from the beginning I knew that every woman could benefit from great skin care. But when I decided how to package them, I had no idea how strong the power of pink would really be. I chose pink because in the early 60s all the bathrooms were white. White towels, white tile, white tubs, white everything. And the color that looked prettiest in those white bathrooms was a delicate shade of pink, and of course a touch of gold. And that's how that original pink aspect began to come on the scene of Mary Kay Cosmetics. Then, a few years down the line, I think it was just about 3 years, I needed a new car, so I went to the Cadillac dealer and told him that I wanted a new car and I wanted it painted pink. He looked at me in absolute dismay and he said, "Oh, Mary Kay, you don't, not really. You won't like it. It's not a good color for a car. Let me tell you how much it's going to cost you to have it repainted when you get that car here and you don't like it." And I just looked him in the eye and I said, "You know what? I want it painted pink anyhow." And so he had it painted pink, and the day that car arrived, as I drove it home, I could tell immediately that it was going to cause a sensation. And when I got it to the company, and the consultants and directors who were there just had a fit over it, I knew that we had a winning thing on our hands. I was amazed when a few days before we were to go private, I received a letter from a shareholder. And she said, "Don't you think that now that we are a mature company," this of course was years later, "that we should go to gray Cadillacs?" I thought, my goodness, doesn't she understand what's happening? And I called down to the legal department to ask them, "How many shares does Mrs. So-and-so hold?" And I discovered she had 3 shares of stock. And here she was trying to tell us to change from pink Cadillacs to gray ones. That gives you some idea of why we wanted to go private. The pink Cadillac has become a symbol throughout the nation. Even if they know nothing about Mary Kay Cosmetics, when they see a pink car, it immediately says to them, Mary Kay. Recently I was invited to a party put on by one of the women news anchors in Dallas, and I didn't really realize that this was going to be a party in my honor. I really thought that she was seeking an interview. And so All that week I'd been to one thing after the other, and I'd worn pink, and I was just really tired of it. And so I wore a red suit to that luncheon, only to find, to my amazement, that everybody there was dressed in pink except me. Well, as the interview began, she asked this question: "When everybody else is in pink, why did you wear red today?" And I said, "Well, I guess I'm all just pinked out. I've been wearing pink all week long." And that's all I really meant by that. But it went across the United States on AP saying that Mary Kay was pinked out, and there was some rumor that began that we were not going to have pink cars anymore, if you can imagine that, just because I said, "I guess I'm all pinked out." It was a mess. A delicate shade of pink has become a powerful thing. Over the years, our company has developed a lot of very rich traditions, many of them grown out of experiences that I personally have had. Years and years ago, a contest was devised by my branch manager, who of course was a man in Stanley, and he said that he was going to have this contest and we were going to win the most wonderful prize. Well, I decided that if we were going to have a wonderful prize, I would be out to win it. And so I worked very hard, and I won this prize. He never would tell us what it was until the day that he presented it. And would you believe it was a flounder light? Do you know what a flounder light is? It's a light that's used, you put on long boots and go out and gig fish. Can you imagine anything I wanted less than a flounder light to gig fish? I thought, if I ever get to be the person who's giving out the gifts, the prizes, don't give flounder lights to women. Instead, we try to give what I term Cinderella gifts. Things that women would love to have, but we're also practical, we would never buy for ourselves. For example, things like diamonds and trips to exotic places. Sometimes I have a man ask me, "Why don't you give cash instead?" But I know that as women, we're also practical. We'd be buying hamburger meat and paying the light bill. So instead, we try to give them things I know they would love to have, but would never buy for themselves. And this has become almost a fairyland of treasures. This past year, I happened to be in our jeweler's office when a package arrived. Yeah, it was just a little box about the size of a brick and very heavy. And he looked at the label on the box, and he said, "Here, this will be of interest to you. These are the diamonds, the loose diamonds for your seminar jewelry." $2.5 million worth of loose diamonds in that package. And I was amazed. Early in our company's history, I once saw in an airport gift shop a little plaque that had a bumblebee on it. And this is how it read. Aeronautical engineers had discovered that the bumblebee's body was too heavy to fly and its wings were too weak, but the bumblebee didn't know it, and so it went right on flying anyway. I thought, what a marvelous symbol of women who go right on flying, even though all scientific evidence would say that it's not possible. As a result of this, my husband Mel brought me a beautiful diamond bumblebee one year. It was a huge bee, and I said, "Oh, honey, you've made a mistake here. Everybody's going to want one of these bees." And he said, "No, there's just one queen to the hive." And from that, we began giving all of our people who rise to the very top a huge diamond bumblebee. And these are cherished. And now, as a symbol of success, we also give our national sales directors emeritus one of those giant bumblebees like Mel presented to me in the early days. But our traditions are not all about Cinderella gifts. There's one tradition that's drawn a lot of attention. We're often asked the question, why do Mary Kay people sing at our gatherings? And I have a good answer for that, because you see, I remember the days when my children were small, how difficult it was for me to get them dressed, get them in the car, and get them to church. And I discovered that many times as I sat down in church, I wasn't in the mood to listen to a sermon. But have you ever noticed that when you are in church, the first thing that is done is that the people sing? And I found that after a couple of hymns that suddenly I would be ready to settle down and listen to what my pastor had to say. I remembered that and found that oftentimes when most of our meetings are held on Monday morning, our sales meetings, that people come and they're still perhaps harassed by the weekend activities, and that they're really not in the mood to listen to what a director has to say to them about their careers and about helping them. And so I decided that what we could do to get women in the mood to listen would be to do what we do in church, and that is sing first. And so we developed, as a matter of fact, we had contests, and the consultants wrote these little songs to a favorite tune. One of them, of course, is the Mary Kay Enthusiasm song, which has for over 30 years been sort of the standby song for every get-together that Mary Kay people have. And it goes something like this: I've got that Mary Kay enthusiasm up in my head, down in my heart, and so on. And somehow after you sing the Mary Kay Enthusiasm song, you feel enthusiastic. Somebody said if you will act enthusiastic, you will become enthusiastic. And truly, that is the way it is. There's still another tradition that I'm especially proud of. In the early days of our company, we used to use world-renowned speakers. But we discovered that these speakers used a generic type of information that was only temporary motivation, and that we really could use our top speakers more effectively. And so today in our company, when a woman reaches the top, she has the honor of speaking to all of our consultants and directors at our seminars. These are not just temporary motivators, but their motivation lasts and lasts for the simple reason that they have lived the life they're talking about, and they are an inspiration to consultants everywhere and directors everywhere to know that they too can reach the very top of our company. Who better to tell their story and to inspire others? Because I really believe that each of us has a story to tell. We call them I stories at Mary Kay. And we found that the world's best motivational speakers cannot hold a candle to our own women in terms of inspiring other women to greatness. Time and again I've been told of a woman who heard one of our $1 million directors tell her I story. And maybe there was some similarity. Maybe they both had 3 kids, or maybe she was a former teacher, or lived in a very small town. And somehow that message not only lingered, but it inspired. These stories hold me spellbound, so I know the effect they must have on a woman who's just beginning her Mary Kay career. And countless times a woman has come up to me to tell me, or she's written to tell me, the exact moment when she was inspired. And oftentimes it was after just such a speech. These women go on stage and they share their innermost secrets of their success. And to tell you the truth, the sharing of these ideas is really at the heart of my own success. Prior to founding our company, you remember the woman who won that alligator bag that I wanted so badly? Well, I went up to her after she had been awarded that bag and crowned queen, and I asked her to share with me what it was she was doing to become so successful. And luckily for me, she did share her ideas, and my career skyrocketed from that point forward. Sharing our talents, our dreams, and our secrets is one of the wonderful forces that abound in this company. From the very beginning, we have shared and applauded our spirit of sharing. Not only would we encourage and applaud this spirit of sharing, we would reward that spirit. So today, our highest honor is the Go Give Award. And the woman it honors, Susie Vickers, epitomized that I will give you the shirt off my back philosophy that has flourished at Mary Kay Cosmetics. And we're so proud of that fact, proud that women of every faith and every nationality honor that commitment to sharing. Whether they hold PhDs or come to us from great poverty, these women stand shoulder to shoulder at our award ceremonies, and that sharing something is very, very special. In the system that Mary Kay Cosmetics has set up, we truly believe that you cannot teach someone else to do something if you are not expert at it yourself. And for that reason, everyone comes into the company as a consultant, learning how to sell our product and learning how to use it and being able to communicate that with other people. And from there she rises from that position to another and to another and to another until she reaches the very top, which turns out to be the National Sales Director. I think it's important for every woman to know that there really is room at the top. And so we have a little publication entitled Room at the Top. And it tells the I stories of our national sales directors who have indeed broken through that glass ceiling and today earn as much as 3 times more than the President of the United States. I think that each of us as women have a responsibility to the others we are leading to serve as a role model. Because remember the old adage of what you are speaks so loudly I can't hear what you say? It's so much more important for us to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And every day, as role models for others who will be watching everything we do, we have to keep this in mind, for we are the only Bible that some people will ever read. What is the gospel according to you? Those of you who heard me speak know that I enjoy analogies and poems and stories. They seem sometimes to be able to say so much to people about things that they can relate to. And over the years I've collected hundreds of such stories that illustrate a particular point about our business. I guess you might say it's my own homespun brand of philosophy. Oftentimes in reading the daily newspaper or devotional or even a novel, a thought will come to me that relates in some way to what we do. One such story came to me from one of our directors, and I think it reminds me of the kind of work that we do in our company. It's the formation of the geese soaring in the sky. I never really understood the V formation until it was explained by one of our directors. I marveled at the precision with which the formation works and realized it's a very apt description of the way our company works. You see, as each bird in the formation flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the bird that is following. By flying this way, the whole flock adds 71% more flying range than if each bird tried to fly alone. People who share a common direction and a sense of community can get where they're going quicker and more easily because they're traveling on the thrust of each other. In this goose formation, when a goose falls out of the formation, suddenly it feels the drag and the resistance of trying to fly alone, and it quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of that bird immediately in front. And when a goose gets tired, it rotates back into the formation, and another goose flies to that point position. And the geese in the formation honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed, just as we do at our success meetings when we stand up and crow about our successes. On a trip to Australia many years ago, I heard a speaker recite the poem that has become one of my favorites. It's called On Silver Wings. I have a premonition that soars on silver wings. It's a dream of your accomplishment of many wondrous things. I do not know under which sky or where you'll challenge fate. I only know it will be high. I only know it will be great. It doesn't have to be a poet or a famous person's story that inspires me. I'm inspired by real life stories too. And I want to tell you about one recent example. You know how college entrance offices often require an essay written by the applicant? Well, one of our Mary Kay kids penned an essay on the positive effects of Mary Kay Cosmetics in the life of my family. And she got into college, and her mother got a new recruit. The college admissions director who read that essay was so impressed that she wanted to have this opportunity for her own family. So again, we're reaching out. And there are hundreds of these kinds of success stories every year. And now let me share just one final tradition of mine that's so simple, yet makes such a difference. I pretend that every single person I meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, "Make me feel important." Years ago, I remember standing in line to congratulate a new vice president of sales at the company that I worked for at that time. And the line was so long it took nearly 3 hours for me to get to him. And I remember that when I reached out to shake his hand, he was looking over my shoulder to see how many more people were in that line. He did not look at me. He did not even know that he shook my hand. And for me, it was a heart-wrenching experience I've never forgotten. I was as tired as he was. We had both been standing in line for those hours. But when he didn't see me, it nearly broke my heart. And I thought, if I ever get to be the person with whom they're shaking hands, I'm going to put all of my attention on that person in front of me. And if you can make every single person with whom you come in contact feel that importance, it will lift his or her spirits and make them climb forward in their search for success. I truly believe that, speaking of success, God did not have time to make a nobody, only a somebody. And I believe that in every person there's something special, something to love, some strength to draw upon. Sometimes it's not obvious and requires a little searching. But if we do truly believe that God planted the seeds of greatness in each one of us, what better challenge than to find it in ourselves and set about helping others to find it in themselves. For our 30th anniversary, one of the central themes is the modern-day symbol of this anniversary, and it happens to be the pearl. And this series of tapes, Pearls of Wisdom, grew out of my desire to share this legacy with you. I really believe that the culture we have designed and used over the years is worth preserving. A lot of us have grown up around it. And in fact, one of my greatest joys is seeing the offspring of what I call the Mary Kay first generation. Today, our Mary Kay kids, our children, have benefited not only from their mother's work, but from her wonderful attitude. And today we have many directors who have not only encouraged their children as they grew up, but who have now followed in their mother's footsteps and have become directors themselves. This last year, we had a wonderful luncheon. We had almost 300 people there, and to me, it was a real revelation of the fact that our culture is now growing into a second generation of women wanting to help each other. We live today in a time of difficult morality and eroding values. And my prayer, my sincere prayer, is that our morals and our values will never change. And that as our products become increasingly sophisticated, that old-fashioned honesty and integrity will always remain. That we can look in any mirror and be proud of what we've become. And that indeed is the finest legacy of the company which bears my name. Mary Kay Cosmetics makes me feel so proud. And I think that's a great way to say happy anniversary to all who have made our dream come true. But I personally gauge success in a different way. I call it the paycheck of the heart. And in that respect, I'm probably the most well-paid woman in all the world, with all of you to thank for that. We all have dreams, and I sincerely believed in my dream, and I've been so fortunate to be able to watch it unfold in such a grand manner. It was William James, the great philosopher, who said, "Our belief at the beginning of an undertaking is the only thing that ensures the successful outcome of our venture. Whatever we vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. And it has, and the dream continues.